Good morning.
Good morning.
See what happens when you don't focus. How are you?
I'm great and yourself.
I'm good. I don't know why I sound like
You
somebody scratchy.
do.
It's horrible. I woke up like, well, wait a minute. I got little tea. I'm trying to sip on it and all of the things, but I'm like, okay, maybe I needed to take more time to wet the whistle.
I
How are you?
am good.
Oh, okay, that's better. All right. I was like, that seemed far away. That seems better. I'm playing with all of the things,
I see.
StreamYard. So I'm like, well, let's check this out. What does this do? What does this do? I got one more thing I want to play with, and then we'll see how that rolls. But I want to do it today because I'll be done messed up everything. And you know me, it only takes one button to push, and everything go wrong. So how was your week?
It was. What did I do this week? I didn't do too much of anything, thank goodness.
Good for you. Good for you. Good morning, Carolyn. Good
Good
morning.
morning, Carolyn.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody coming in. I left freezing cold and came back and it's like summer. I said, well, what? Wait a minute. I said, y'all trying to have me sick for real. Like it's supposed to be freezing cold. Well, I guess it's freezing cold there too. So I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
you up in the Rockies. Mm-hmm.
It was so pretty. So I prayed. I said, "Oh, it would be so nice," because we were literally surrounded. And I'm for my tea sippers, I'll put together a little video and show y'all all the stuff. But we were literally surrounded by the mountains, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's so pretty. It would be so nice to see it with the snow." And sure enough, on the day that the temperatures plummeted, I looked up and there was snow all around. It was so pretty.
Oh,
That was so pretty. Even though I was down there in the Latter Day Saints world. Because, baby, when I tell you they have blocks on blocks on blocks of buildings, they got their own convention center, they got their own everything. I said, well, wait a minute. Wow. I said, wow. This is interesting. Interesting. All right. All right. Well, let's get this party started. Welcome to our Saturday morning tea, where here we brew up the hottest topics in healthcare. We discuss health information news, education, certification tips, entrepreneurship, the Rocky Mountains, the snow, cold to hot, and just chilling during the week. But we also discuss the revenue cycle at large. And as you come in, don't forget to hit the thumbs up or like button. I'm Clarice Warner. I'm the girl with the pearls, the founder and senior education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. And PRN is a healthcare compliance consultancy located in Cincinnati, Ohio, that specializes in revenue cycle and regulatory compliance and education. Now, let me ask you, do you know what it takes to be a certified marketable medical coder? Do you? Well, if you don't, before I introduce my co host, let me share with you information on a free, yes, free email course on the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start and scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder. Hey, I ain't heard that in a minute. Hey. So if you are interested in getting more information about the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder, check the video description in the link. That's funny because I was watching some video. Oh, it was about tea. It was these different teas. I saw this. Well, when I was in Dubai, we went to this restaurant and they had this tea decanter diffuser thing that we were drinking iced tea, but they put it in there hot, and then he placed it over our cup, and then it just seeped into our cup. So I thought that was just the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I've been looking for that for a year now, like something
Wow.
similar. So I found one, and I'm looking at the reviews, and so somebody did a review of the different teas that they make, and they were playing one of my theme songs, and I said,
Uh-huh.
"That's my song." Which I got off of YouTube Music, their studio music. But I play around with the stuff. But I was like, why does that sound familiar to me? Like, because that's my song. I was like, okay, everybody was on that same song that year. But anyway, I was chuckling about that. But anyway, joining me today is my partner in success, my co-host, Mr. Jesse, the registered trademark. Put some respect, because Lord, the respect is needed on his name, the coding nurse. Sir, introduce yourself and tell the folks all about you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse. I live in Philadelphia. I've been in healthcare for 3 decades. In
Mm.
2014, I left the bedside and transitioned into HIM. And in 2020, during the pandemic, I created a company, the Coding Nurse LLC, where I help nurses and other people with a clinical background transition into the wonderful world of HIM.
And coming off the conference, oh, what a wonderful world it is. Oh, yes. And so how is that going for you?
It's coming along.
Okay.
Actually, after the meeting, I have a tutoring session with someone in CDI.
Okay, CDI. Okay. The people coming for you one way or the other. The people coming. I love it. That's what's up. So before we jump in, let me remind you that you can join in and add to the conversation. We welcome that. We welcome your opinions. Your opinions matter here. So don't be shy. Join in the conversation. And of course, you can use the chat feature. Put in your chat, put in your comments, your thoughts, your all of the things in the chat. If you have a question, the only thing that we ask is that you type a Q first so we know it's a question for us and not a question that you all are talking amongst yourselves in the chat. So that helps us make sure that we answer you. We don't want to miss any questions that are for us. Okay. Oh, for those who are just joining us or watching the replay, today we're talking about the nurses, these fake nursing diplomas, and this $1.6 million healthcare crisis. And I think that's a little conservative. I think it's way more than that. It's probably in the trillions, for real, if you take account of all of the things that are happening. But first, let us hit you with a few church announcements, shall we? Shall we? Shall we? Okay. There you go. Yes. Oh, get it. Yes. Oh. Yes. Oh. I went to it was a reunion choir concert, and it just filled my whole spirit a couple weeks ago to be with a full choir, like in the old days. I said, there was an organ, everything. I said, y'all better come on.
We gonna have to have a first Saturday little segment or something.
Okay.
And actually, today's the first Saturday of November. So.
It is. You're right. Okay. Well, you tell me what you want to do. We'll throw it on. You know me. I'm always down. All right. Good morning. All right. Yes. right. So the only church announcement I had is just an FYI for everybody. This is for all of us, our friends, our families, our loved ones, everybody. Remember, and just a reminder, to stay hydrated because there is a shortage of IV fluids. The company that makes a large portion of the nation's sterile IV fluids was hit, is actually forced to close following hurricane-related damage from the hurricane in North Carolina. It's Baxter. It's a Baxter International plant in North Cove, North Carolina. And because of the flooding and all of the things, they had to shut down. I don't know where they are as it relates to reopening and starting the supply chain again, but a lot of the stuff had to they couldn't use, or what'd I do? There we go. Couldn't use, or they can't make more. So that's a whole situation, especially going into a hospital, because the first thing they do, depending on what's happening, is to provide you with IV fluids. So please, please, please stay hydrated. Mr. Jesse, I didn't know if you had any comments or any additional church announcements that you wanted to add.
No.
No.
I'm ready for you to. So when are we going to talk about your recap of the conference?
That's the meeting after the meeting, sir.
Okay, all right.
You got to be a tea sipper to get all that tea.
Okay, all right. I got you. Because
baby, when I tell you, things were happening all over the place. It was quite the meeting. I'll say that the conference was actually good. And one of the keynote speakers, I will share this. One of the keynote speakers was Mark Hamill, I think, the ice skater, Olympic skater. He's so little.
Yeah.
He come probably to my shoulder. I said, well, wait a minute. But he did a wonderful, wonderful job providing information about his life and trials and triumphs that he's had in his life. I mean, starting at a baby. He was adopted, starting at a baby, found out he had all kinds of problems, just the whole thing. The one thing that I appreciated the most about him as a keynote speaker that was not necessarily tied to healthcare is he didn't try to fake like he understood who we were and what we do, because you get that all the time, and they'd be like, they have no damn clue who we are, who they are addressing. And he didn't do that. He did mention, that he knew that, we were kind of the heart of it all, because we were responsible for, documentation. He knew by discussing his stints in the hospital and things that had occurred with his mom in the hospital. So he knew a little bit about it, and he stayed in his lane. Oftentimes you get these keynote speakers, they have no clue, again, who we are, what we do. They think they do, and then they try to add something and try to be relevant, and it's like, stay in your lane. So I appreciated that about him. It was great. And then I saw him when I was in the airport, and I looked over, I said, you did a wonderful job with your keynote. He was like, thank you, I appreciate that. But I mean, he's just a little bitty, teeny tiny little man. I said, well, look at here. Did you want to mention anything about your January course class?
Actually, no, I got so much other stuff going on.
Wait a minute. All right.
Because I'm moving at the end of the month, so.
So you on task. You getting the things going. Okay. Look, I can't wait till the meeting after the meeting. Let's we're done here. Okay. Let me stop this banner. All right. Well, let the tea spilling begin. So it's Saturday morning, and you know what that means. It's time to spill the hottest tea in healthcare. So grab your cups, because today's tea is piping hot. Yes. Normally I have my multiple tea bags, but this is a different type of tea.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
real tea, but different. But anyway, let's talk about this story that has my teacup shaking, if you will. It's about, okay, I'm trying not to butcher this man's name. Ejike AC Bunam. I think I said it right. Asi Bunam is his last name. First name, Ejike. Anyway, remember that name, even though I may have butchered it, but just remembered it. I tried. He's from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And dude just got caught in one of the biggest nursing diploma scams outside of Florida. No I'm kidding. And, I was just amazed at the information that I was reading. And coming from compliance and being, a compliance officer, I've seen some things and heard some things. But this stuff right here, when I tell you, folks are very creative. I don't, did COVID make folks as creative as they are? Folks are very creative. I'll say that. So from 2018 to 2021, this man was running, and I use that term loosely, a quote nursing school. But this wasn't any legitimate institution. He was charging these poor students anywhere from $15,000 to $22,000. That's all. For some school that you really didn't know anything about, wasn't like a nationally recognized institution, wasn't like an Ivy League, just $22,000 for a degree that wasn't even worth the paper it was printed on. But wait, it gets better than that. And better, and by better, I actually mean worse. He had the audacity to charge an extra $5,000 for what he called prerequisites. So before you could even get in to start the course or get the information, you had to pay $5,000 for these prerequisites. So all told, this is where that $1.6 million number comes from. He pulled in that 1.6 million. That's a lot of fraudulent diplomas, for real.
It
For real.
is.
So now the justice system has finally caught up with him, and he's looking at or facing 21 months in federal prison. But here's the tea, the other part of the tea. He wasn't working by himself. This mess stretches all the way down to Florida, which brings me to our next segment. And this is the Florida connection. So, speaking of Florida, and y'all know, I know our on the street correspondent is a Floridian, but y'all know Florida be in all kinds of foolishness. Well, they were
Hmm.
involved in this as well. So we had Michelle Wimes and her little operation called Grace Med Training, which was in Vero Beach, Florida. Now, this story is really actually sad because it involved 60 victims. Yes, these weren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These were actually real people with real dreams who really thought that they were doing something to impress or improve their livelihood, improve their families, improve, their careers. Together, the 60 folks lost $145,000 to this scheme. So one of the victims, her name was Halima Dutse. This woman had been a CNA for 10 years, 10 whole long years. And she was doing everything right. And she was trying to work her way up and trying to advance her career in an honest way. So she wanted to, go on to be a nurse. So imagine putting in a decade of hard, honest work and saving your money and making all the sacrifices you have made only to have someone steal your dreams right from up under you. Well, as a result of Miss Wimes' foolishness, the courts gave her 7 years in prison, plus 20 years probation. But really, can that make up for the law for the damage that she did to those 60 victims? 60 victims. That's a lot. And Mr. Jesse, please feel free to jump in at any time. Next, it's is kind of piggybacking on this, and oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even looking at the comments. Let me check y'all out. Okay, we got the face. That's terrible. Absolutely. 21 months, that's not much for people losing all that money. Absolutely. You're right about that. Not too much on the Sunshine State.
No, nah,
Nah.
that's just that. No, she got real southern on us.
But we do get ratchet sometimes. These are examples of the sometimes. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, but right now it's becoming a national crisis. So we've already talked about what the government has done. Oh, and I'm holding on. I meant to show y'all this too. I got my 2025 hot off the press book,
Okay.
so I'm about to crack this mug open. But it's in my lap, and I'm cradling it like a baby. Anyway, so we've already talked about Operation Nightingale that the Department of Justice, the FBI, OIG, all of the people have launched. But this isn't just limited to Florida and Maryland. Um, First, they're still investigating multiple Florida schools, and there were 5 of them that was in the article that is posted in the link. Siena College, Sacred Heart International Institute, some healthcare academy that I cannot pronounce, Quizakia, we'll say it that way, MedLife Institute, WPF or WPV, and Palm Beach School of Nursing. Now you would think Palm Beach School of Nursing, wouldn't you think that would be like legitimate? You wouldn't maybe bat an eye or whatever, but no,
You would think.
you would think. But again, this is just bigger than a few bad actors. The state boards across the country are sending out notices, and nurses are having their licenses automatically annulled. So people are losing their jobs, careers, legitimate careers are being destroyed because they got tangled up in this mess. And it seems like these, because the list in Maryland, so there's a list in Maryland on their Board of Nursing site that lists all of these people who were caught up in having a fraudulent or fake nursing diploma or degree or license. Um, and I want to say all but 1 or 2 had a foreign name, had an international sounding reading. I can't even try to
Mm.
pronounce it name. And so I feel like they were targeted. Like these people were really. I feel I don't want to believe that they were intentionally coming over. Oh, I want to get a come up, because you know how we thought initially, like, oh, everybody trying to get a come up, they're gonna just do whatever. But it seems like they may have been targeted to, because all of them seem to have. Would you stop? Well, give me your tea, sir.
It was intentional. They knew what they were doing. It was a
Okay.
come up.
Even a little lady in Florida that was a CNA that
Listen,
got duped by the lady. I mean,
no, she may claim now that she got duped, but I'm telling you, that little lady tried to take the tease test about a good 5, 6 times and couldn't pass it. Or the HESI, whatever it was for her to get in, she couldn't do it.
but then the crazy part that there were so many of them that could. And I read somewhere that they're doing something with not the tease test, but the state board test that they
Oh
were
yeah, they changed it.
yeah, as a result. So
It's a different
all
form.
kinds of stuff is a result of this fallout of what has been happening with these schools, because there were people who hadn't done the work, hadn't done any of the clinical, hadn't done any of the stuff, paid the money, but then passed, were successful in passing their boards. And that was like, well, wait a minute. How, how that happen? But anyway, but there's another thing to consider. Um, what this means for hospital facilities, because this is a mess. So first we're looking at serious liability issues. Hospitals could face negligent hiring claims, and they're scrambling to verify their staff's credentials. So can you imagine discovering that someone in your nursing staff bought their whole degree and practicing on you and your loved ones? Can you just imagine that? But here's the additional crazy part: the patient impact, and we're talking about potential harm from unqualified care, and patients have the right to legal action if they discover they were treated by someone with fraudulent credentials. So this is bigger. So even if you look at the list that Maryland has, and they tie those people to institutions that hired them and allowed them to work in their facilities, it just gets bigger and bigger. That's why I said that $1.6 million is just a cakewalk compared to what the possible lasting impact number will be at the end of all of this. If it ever, I mean, if it gets to an end of all of this. And then don't even get me started on the documentation nightmare that this creates. This is a mess. This is a whole mess. Go ahead.
I'm not like, honestly, this is not anything new. What is really the problem in this situation is the scale. That's
Mm-hmm.
really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because over over 25 years ago, I worked with a nurse who had stolen somebody's nursing license. Like, she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a nurse. And about 20 years ago again, in in Maryland, they had stopped a whole school. I think the school was in DC or Virginia. People used to finish at this school and then apply to take their boards in Maryland. So it had come out that somebody was taking the exam for everybody. Like, there was this woman who was charging, I think, $600
Mm.
a pop to take the RN or the LPN boards for people. So this is it's nothing new, but it's just the scale. And the only thing that I think is unfortunate is that you are putting the public at risk because these people don't have enough sense to go somewhere where they could kind of lay low. Like, why would you, if you know that you really didn't go to school, why would you want to go to a hospital? Like, that would be the last place you should go, really. Because when somebody is sick, you have minutes to save their life for real, and you're
Absolutely.
supposed to know what to do.
Absolutely.
And I just don't understand. I just don't understand how they would take it that far, knowing that you're not who you say you are. That's the thing that gets me. So the ones who get caught, they should have just moved a little differently. They should be doing home health, look, or CDI.
Something without
Yes,
bedside
sit your behind down somewhere.
work.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh Lord, you are you wrong for that. Oh, that's just it's a mess.
Oh, can I answer Carolyn's question? She's do you think they knew? Some people don't realize the school is a fraud. Carolyn, when you were in nursing school and they don't teach you how to do an IV, they don't teach you about medications, it's a fraud.
Mm-mm-mm. And
You
she's still
know.
laughing. CDI. Yeah, it's it's crazy. It's crazy out here. And then, to think about, like, well, what should you do? How can you protect yourself with if you're a student? I mean, once you're in, and they're not showing you how to do da da da. Yeah, you know that. But what happens? What type of things do you think you could do, kind of to protect yourself, other than looking at the accreditation status of the school? Even though I think some of them, I don't know if all of these schools were accredited, or were, if
Th-
there's a particular accreditation board that people, I know accreditation really is all about getting the money to hold a piece of paper to say that you meet XYZ standard, but
if they were eligible to sit for the National Council of State Boards licensing exam,
they
that
were
school
accredited.
was accredited. And that's the real issue because we all know, you know, when your school is not up to speed.
Mm?
But the fact is, it was an accredited program. And I think
And they can hang
that
their hat
is
on that.
right. And that is going to be, I ultimately, I think that the school is going to, these boards are going to have to eat this. I really do.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless people voluntarily surrender their licenses, which if I paid that kind of money, I wouldn't. And look, you already know that I'm not who I say I am, but guess what? These people said I was. These people said I was ready. I paid them, and you said that they were accredited. Give me me. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Now, what I think they should do, to be quite honest, is make them go through not a whole course, but go through a refresher course because there are instances if your license has lapsed for a certain amount of time and you want to get back into nursing after a certain amount of time, you have to take a state approved course where it's like a crash course back in like the fundamentals. I think that they need to do that.
Mm.
That's what I think they need to do
To
rather than
reinstate their license, or to show and
Mhm.
prove that they can provide the services that they say they can provide.
Right, because the
But
school was
aren't they
accredited.
trying to go after them as well? Aren't they trying to now go after these nurses criminally? Aren't they trying to?
Well, not well. Did you see the video that I sent you from
I
TikTok?
did.
So what they're trying to do is they're trying to like box them in and basically well here's the thing though. If you know that you have to provide records because you had these people who were talking about, oh well, schools are closing at, well, I wouldn't know how to get my transcript. The board of nursing has your transcript. They know because the school I went to back in 1750 has been closed.
Not
But
1750. I cannot with you.
if I apply for a compact license on Monday, that board of nurses, Pennsylvania board of nursing knows that yes, he did graduate from an accredited practical nursing program on such and such a date. They have that. If that information is never deleted, whether the school is closed or not, you still
But
have
what's
your.
the what's the yeah what's the scare tactic that was happening in that?
So what they're trying to do is they're trying to now, like if it's a certain school, when you go apply, they want you to have your transcript. Okay, well, I'm sure that these people provided fake transcripts to the board. They had to in order for you to test. Like it's
Mm.
not just, oh, you did blah blah blah. Like because I looked at my like when I graduated, they gave me my transcript and like back when what did I needed it for something. I had to get it again like during COVID or something. And they actually made the school because it was the program was closed, but they still have to keep your records. So I called and they mailed me my transcript. And it has on there all the things that you have to complete to comply. Like, all of the accredited hours and all of the things that you need. Like it's there. So
So go ahead.
so these people do have legitimate paperwork, but it's just the paperwork that they didn't complete what was on the paper. But yes, the onus is on them because they're adults and they knew what they were doing. But at the same time, this school that you said was accredited to train nurses said that they provided this training.
It's a mess. So so you have, because I'm going back to the employer, the
Mhm.
hospital, the home health, the whomever. And when you, in your compliance plan department, you're supposed to, even through HR, you're supposed to do these checks. And
But they
so
did.
that's what I'm getting there.
Mhm.
So they did these checks. So they're relying on these boards and these accreditation people to kind of, because they don't know for certain what all needs to happen. I know we didn't, as an individual person, validating and checking folks license, and we were told make sure that there's a license, make sure it isn't expired, and make sure there aren't any sanctions or anything on that license. If everything was good, they got a check, good, move on to the next. So we're relying on the information from the boards and these accrediting organizations that this information and material is valid. I mean, to your point, that individual nurse who knew they stuff wasn't right and defrauded, if you will, definitely has some liability related to that. But then the hospital, I would be looking sideways at these boards and these accreditation people, like, because if they come after me, we coming after you, because we relied
That's
on you
that's
and
what
your
needs to
information.
happen. That's what needs to happen. Because but they're trying to scapegoat the nurses, and I just know because there's a whole lot of people who played a part in them getting to this point. A whole lot of people.
Absolutely. And I know we talked about before, um, even even with health information and coding and all of that, having some sort of skill validation. Let's make sure that this person can do what they need to do at the employee level, like the organization. Because you
Oh,
said before, nurses would look over and know, she don't know what they don't know what they doing. What are who taught you that? Where you get that from?
the only thing I ever had to do, and I
Oh,
don't even
I
think
ain't think
they
about that.
and
Uh-uh.
I don't even think they do that anymore. Um, they used to just you would just have to take a medication test. Like it was never a skills test like that because
Oh, okay.
they just assume that once they verify, because they're going to verify your license usually, and then even some places when they did give you the med test, you would get the med test as part of your orientation, so they would train you, and then you just had to um, take the med test before you were able to pass meds in the facility. That was it.
Hmm.
All
Interesting.
the verification starts and stops at the board of nursing. Once that facility determines or has checked and you have an active license on the board of nursing website, that means a lot. That means that you've ticked off all the boxes, done all the things that you're supposed to do, and in their minds you're ready to go because that what else would they think?
Yeah, that's a mess.
It is.
That's a whole mess.
But it's just like again, it's not new, it's just the scale.
Mm. Yeah, gosh. And even doing the things, like that's a mess.
Mhm.
Like, what do you do? So, like, how? Because some of the tips that were provided, for even for the healthcare organizations, is to try to identify who your potentially unqualified staff is. So I mean, I don't know if that's a conversation with other nurses, like, do y'all drop a dime on each other, like, Sally over here, she ain't pulling, whatever. But in the meantime, you got patients that are being treated, or not treated, but being nursed, if you will, by these people that can they do the job? But then you may have somebody who is running circles around everybody else. They just didn't got fake paper, but know they stuff and know what they doing and been out here doing it. So, like, can you really? identify, somebody who that identification may not be 100% accurate either. If you're looking to do that, it also says conduct thorough background checks. So yes, and if your HR department should and do, look for exclusions and all of those things. But if these people had never done anything, have never had a criminal background or nothing in their background that would alert anything, and clearly they didn't, because don't they check for that even at the board level? So
They check for that. Well, even in a school,
in a school, because
you
you
know,
can't go out and do your clinicals
right,
without
exactly.
having.
You have to be cleared. All of that. I mean, they check criminal, they check child abuse, all of that.
But they didn't do. But did they do um clinicals with in these schools with this stuff?
I don't. Well,
I don't remember hearing anything
I
about
don't think
clinical
any.
stuff.
But I don't think any. Well, during COVID, nobody did. It
Mm,
was all simulated, and I'm sure that's what they did.
yeah, you're right.
Because
Yeah, that's
I mean,
messy.
I didn't do any. I mean, I didn't do any real research, but into the because what I would like to know from the schools is when were they initially accredited? Because this they didn't just pop up during COVID. I refuse to believe.
No, I think these schools have been in a while, but then I think they
Exactly.
were creative in trying to figure out a way in which, because these dollar sign, this price tag that they charge these people was crazy too. Like, for
Yeah,
real?
but I'm telling you, I just think that it's the scale because I just think that because of COVID, everybody wanted that everybody wanted that COVID money. I mean there were nurses that made like 600, 700, $900,000,
Mm,
and people
mm-mm.
wanted that money. Now, I, I just don't know how. Like that they have testicles of steel because I don't know how I don't know how you know that you don't know anything and you want to go into like the ICU or no, like that
Right? Like,
you mm-mm, mm-mm.
hell, surgeries. Uh,
Exactly.
I don't know. That is
It's
horrible.
it is way bigger than what they're saying and what they also cannot don't seem to be
Or
willing to
not
admit
saying
it.
as well. You
Right.
gotta.
Right. And they just they can't admit that they don't know what to do because they really don't know what to do because this whole thing because it's going to end up because the last time we talked about this there was an attorney who was representing nurses in some states
Oh yeah,
who
there's a whole. I put a link to one of the articles to one of the attorneys. He like, call me, I got you. Da da da.
Mhm. So this is going to like at the end of the day I'm telling you I, my opinion the board of nurses in these states are just going to have to eat it. They're going to have to identify who these people are and make them go through some secondary training. That's the only thing they can do because
And just have to
they
take their time to do that. But then they also in the TikTok, I think she mentioned that these boards across the states are coming together to try to weed out or figure out what additional.
but they but here's the thing now but they can't like that's all fluff because now because
But
I
I
think
think
there's
that's
only
going to be a
two
targeted thing, because now
but
if you come in with a foreign sounding name, then you're going to have a target on your back. And
but
you may
here's
have
the thing
legitimately done everything that you were supposed to do, whatever. But now you going to, that don't feel
but
good either.
right, but I gotta, even though that's what they said, I gotta try to call. I'm going to call cap on that too because there's something called a compact license. So I don't
What's
live
a
in a
compact
state.
license?
A, a compact license is where you only apply for one. You have one license, but it allows you to work in other states that are part of a compact agreement.
Okay.
Pennsylvania is not in that
Okay.
yet.
It's like
I think it's
reciprocity with like physicians going.
Well,
place to
no,
place, right?
well, no, they've always had reciprocity because whenever you pass one board exam, you don't have to pass one to get a license in any other state. It's just the process was a lot longer because you had to do it on an individual level. The
Okay.
whole compact thing is like in New Jersey, for instance. In New Jersey, if I lived in New Jersey, I could get a compact license, which means I physically live in New Jersey, but my New Jersey license would allow me to work in 48 other states
Okay.
without having to go
Having to
through.
do anything. Okay.
Mhm. So
Okay.
if these people already have a license in a compact state, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because they can move
They done
around.
traveled.
They
They done been around.
exactly.
They done been around. And so, if you think that this is isolated to just these two states, you would be crazy. There's somebody who's been through at least some of these schools. We got 6, 7 schools right now that have been named, have possibly been all over this country.
And they already know. I think the people who are guilty know who they are, and they know that they had to move around, and that's what they've done. These people probably are all over the country. They don't know where they are right now. They couldn't tell you where they are if their life depended on it.
Mm. And just working every day, doing
Mhm.
what they do. That I just, mm.
My only issue with the whole thing is public safety. If it wasn't, if
Yes,
this,
that's the whole thing.
if this were like, I mean, I'm like, well, it happens in all. You have people running around with cosmetology licenses, ain't done a
Good
stitch
morning.
of school. You could it money talks. You
But the lives involved,
right.
that's the thing that makes this so much more egregious to me. Um, and because we all know nurses run the hospital, they do all of the things, all
Because
of the things.
the only thing I'm thinking about is how are you going to tell these people if they even whether they didn't do a thing, they this program certified these people and this program was accredited. How do you get around that? How do you then turn around and say, well, no, it's not, and be gone? That's why they wanted people to voluntarily surrender their license. If you turn it in, you turn it in. That's on you. But I just think that it's going to be a lot longer battle than what people really think, just from the legal standpoint.
I agree. I agree with that. And I'm also curious to know like how far will they let this go? Like how deep down this rabbit hole is the government willing to go to, because this could go on for years, decades, forever.
Look at the comment from Advanced Nurses. Good morning, Raquel.
I managed one. Oh, she lived in Texas with an LPN license and some months later popped up with a Florida RN license. She tried to get her Texas RN license, and Texas Board of Nursing has denied her for 3 years now. Mm. Not some months later, though. Really? That don't even make sense. Wow.
Now, I
Yeah,
think
she said
because
this
that's another
court
thing,
thing is going to take years.
because that's another thing that they're not talking about. Because I would love to know what the percentages of are of people, because there were people who had legitimate LPN licenses who
Mm-hmm.
bought their RN licenses.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
So are they now
those,
taking those LPN? Like they taking everything because of the fraud.
well,
If they surrender.
I think they only because if you kept some people keep both their licenses. So if you surrender your RN license, you can still. have your RN license unless I mean still keep your LPN license unless they want to, bring up some kind of like
Oh, they're.
heritage.
Oh, I
Some
didn't know
people
that. I
keep
thought
their
they like mold into the other one, but no,
because
they're
it's
okay.
two separate
Okay. Okay.
descriptions.
Okay.
They're just like, well, you have to, but like nurse practitioners have an RN license,
Right.
so you just there. I think some. Well, I know you can keep them because I know RNs that kept their LPN, and then I know some who just let it go. But the so if they are LPNs who bought RN licenses, I understand how they were able to pass the board. I get it, but that still is not right.
No.
And you just have to like I shared this before too. Like you just have to and I like clearly these people were desperate because I told this story before years and years ago. I was applying for my Delaware LPN license and actually through my job. I must have been the only LPN that was applying because they were doing it for free. Delaware sends me an RN license. I call them. Hmm. Now, and I had people there. I'm like, "Oh, you crazy?" I wouldn't say nothing, but because it always
Because
comes
you have
out.
ethics and morals, and
But it always comes out. And I called as soon as I got in the mail. I'm on the phone, and the lady was like, "Wait a minute, what?" And I explained to her, and they pulled my application, and because they can always check because you especially you have an application,
and you
so
should have some internal. That's another thing. So you should have some internal auditing going on to verify and validate. Every so
oh
often, pick a couple of people. Let's make sure. Da 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 da. Whatever. Maybe that's not something that is happening or occurring in these
well
in
I
these
can
places either.
and I can see that falling through the cracks too because it's not like these departments have 75 people. I could imagine, but I called them, told them, and they sent me an LPN license. And that was, oh my God, that was in the 90s. So now probably I look, I would have got caught up by now because now they probably checking everybody. Look, all these years later, 20, look, 17,000 years later. Oh, sir, no, what you doing?
Wow. They'd be like, wait a minute, did y'all see this? Ooh, the person
Uh-huh.
probably got dead and gone. Never, not,
Yes.
nothing. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. And just to think about how far this reach is. Ooh.
Oh, it's and and it's not really I don't think it's talked about a whole lot because they don't want to because the public is already petrified of healthcare anyway. You always
Yeah.
hear these horror stories about the hospital, so that's going to just make it even. Then people will be like, "Well, what school does she go to? Is she really a nurse? Like, is he really a nurse?" I mean, because first of all, even people who are licensed, I've been wondering that for years.
That additional shot of tea.
Exactly. I'm like, and I'm telling, I worked with somebody who stole somebody's license. So I'm telling you, it's not new. This has been going on since I've been a nurse. It's just the scale. That's all.
The other part is that I'm curious about is like, where and maybe they just falling back to pounce later. Like, you know how the AMA have been on this whole scope creep and all of the things. What if, because you said the nurse practitioners, they've already been talking about nurse practitioners, um, and to their point, some of the institutions that some of them go through, that they're online institutions and they can't do this and can't do that and da 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 da. I'm curious, and I'm sure y'all know where I'm going with this. I'm curious if
Mhm.
if somebody done slipped through even that crack, and now they're a nurse practitioner. Because and I'm would probably be certain that they definitely knew their stuff in order to get to the next level. Because I haven't heard anybody talking about doing nurse practitioner diplomas or degrees or any of that. So I'm sure these people, person, whatever, have come up appropriately through the ranks. But I'm just surprised the AMA hasn't pounced all over this, and maybe they just laying in wait. You know how folks
I
do.
I think that they might be laying in wait because I think it hasn't come like it's just now it's just um LPN and RN licenses. So, and to your point, I do believe that there's somebody who had the wherewithal to be like, well, look, well, let me just keep it going.
Keep it
Let me
going.
get, and it might, because I think there was a story of somebody who they were either in a nurse practitioner program or they were. I believe it has happened, but it's just not to the same scale.
Yeah, because who would think that they would? But you never know. You never know. What'd she say? And we'll have the feds running up in their homes, raiding their homes for proof of clinical hours. Oh my goodness. I think it's happened in all fields. Remember Trump University? Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's not limited to this. This is just, it's just heartbreaking, I guess, because of the patient impact. And
That's the only
folks,
thing.
huh?
I said that's the only thing for me.
Yeah, it's like, and you don't know you're actually coming to you're trusting. It's about trust. It's about trust. At the end of the day, it's about trust. Um, yeah. And healthcare is built on trust. And so when somebody breaks that trust, they're again not just committing a whole fraudulent this whole thing from the school, from the nurse to the school to the board to the credits to all of that. You at the end of the day, lives have been placed at risk. Prayerfully, I mean, and who knows? We'll probably never, ever, ever know that if somebody was truly, truly harmed as a result of this.
And even if they know, we will never know because that would expose them to these hospitals to all kinds of liability.
But still, but if you got these you got these names, patients can get their records. Patients are privy to the documentation in their records. They can match a name to a name.
Right, but that doesn't mean that. But that doesn't mean that they can. Well, I don't know if it would,
Who?
but because it all comes back to they they went. It comes back to the accreditation. I just think that I'm telling you, I just think that they
if
just
I
need to.
go to if I go get my records and I
Mhm.
see ABCD, and I'm looking through my documentation because I didn't ask. I want to see all the records, and I done pulled that board of nursing list, and I'm comparing because hey, I've been in these a Maryland hospital, and hey, my family member or whatever, and if we see somebody, and if we match that on the list, we calling the attorney. Like whoa, 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 whoa.
Well,
Especially if there's something that was wrong, particularly if something happened.
I would like to see that happen because most people ain't keeping a list of nurses that come in their rooms. I mean, they could, as they're
I'm not
within
saying
their
they are.
right to
I'm
do
saying,
it.
but if they get the documentation, you as a patient, I am allowed to receive all documentation of my care.
Right.
Period. So say there is a something that went wrong. Say there is something that happened in my medical care family. If I'm an attorney, the first thing we getting all these medical records and we checking all these names off against this board list. Because now that they done, it's a free for all. They done publish these names. This is about to get
Mhm.
nasty.
We gonna
Yeah,
see.
she said, I'm sure there are physicians or attorneys that are doing cold calls. Right. So you got attorneys now that's trying to protect those nurses, but I'm sure you got some attorneys out here that know that that's putting A and B together and calling the patients. I
I
would.
we gonna see because it's we know that it's far
Because
from
then
over.
that's gonna put because the hospitals would be liable.
Oh,
You got
absolutely.
this person here again. Then they gonna be shifty eyed over here. Like, well, wait a minute. We did this based on the information for the board of nurses, so it's gonna be a circle. But somebody just gotta light the fire. Once that fire lit, it's gonna be off the chain.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be off the chain.
It is.
Off the chain. Ooh, ooh. Well, like I said at the beginning, at the end of the day, it's all about trust. You know, healthcare has always been about trust, and this is just unfortunately just horrible situation where trust is definitely has been broken on not just on multiple sides, on multiple sides,
Yes, that's true.
on multiple sides.
That's true.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. Wow. All right. All right. Let me get my little slides together. Yeah. Okay. So thirsty for fresh perspectives on the healthcare revenue cycle. By becoming one of the tea sippers, you'll join a community of sharp minds who savor the complexities of the healthcare revenue cycle. Why sip alone when you can steep in knowledge, when we can steep in knowledge together? Come, let's spill the tea on industry insights. And here's what you can expect as a valued member of the Tea Sippers. Exclusive healthcare insights. You can gain access to in-depth articles, webinars, and resources covering the latest healthcare trends, compliance updates, and revenue cycle best practices. Early access. Be the first to receive expert insights and guides, ensuring you stay ahead in the ever-evolving healthcare industry. Personalized support. Enjoy direct access to our team of experts for guidance on medical coding, compliance issues, and revenue cycle management. We're here to answer your questions and support your professional growth. And my favorite, community connection. Join a private community of healthcare professionals where you can network, share experiences, and collaborate on finding solutions to common challenges. So, by supporting us, you're not only advancing your healthcare knowledge and career, but also contributing to the success of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, a resource that empowers healthcare professionals like you to thrive in their roles, goals, and dreams. So thank you for considering becoming a member of the Tea Sippers. And for the cost of what? 2 cups of tea, a cup of coffee, you can join the community. So check out the link in the description of the video, or you can go to bit.ly/ the PRN Tea Sippers to get more information. Again, your support means the world to us, and we look forward to helping you excel in the world of health information and healthcare revenue cycle. Hey, all right, all right. So, thank you all. We are at the top of the hour for joining the Saturday morning tea or checking out the replay. Let me ask, was the tea spilled today? Did we give you some food for thought, if anything?
Yeah.
Food for thought, absolutely. So put your teacups in the chat. Put your teacups in the chat. Let's see. Let's see. Now, before we sign off, I've got a special request for all you amazing viewers out there. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. And you and you and you. If you found this episode helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share the knowledge with your colleagues by hitting that share button. And hey, why not subscribe to the channel while you are at it? That way, you'll never miss a drop of our health information, compliance, revenue cycle, and medical coding tea. I see the teacups. I see the teacups. Yes, yes, yes. So if you have thoughts or questions or experiences, additional experiences you want to share about today's topic, we'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation brewing. Even after we go off the air, we could still have the conversation. And if you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up. It helps with more healthcare professionals like you finding our content. And also don't forget to check out the Coding Nurse channel on YouTube. You know, if he's dropping gems over here, you know he's dropping gems over there. So remember, at the Saturday Morning Tea, we're all about building a community of savvy, informed healthcare professionals. So again, like, share, subscribe, and comment, and let's grow this community together. Aw. So this has been a great session today. What you
Yeah.
think? What you think, Mr. Jesse? Do you have any parting last words?
No, I'm just glad that they named the operation after Florence Nightingale.
It could be worse, right?
Yeah, because so I'm all right with that one.
That's the silver lining in all of this.
Yes.
What a tea. Even at the last moment. The tea, the tea, the tea. Oh my God. All right then. So see you tea sippers at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our meeting after the meeting. That is just for those of us members of the tea sippers, and yeah, we'll further explore this topic as well as discuss some things that that happened this past week here at the AHIMA 24 and House of Delegates and all kinds of stuff. We got all kinds of stuff brewing. So if you are a tea sipper, check out the Patreon and come over and join us. All right. So remember, be
Right.
safe. Huh?
I said, all right.
Oh, okay. Remember, be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Until next time, take care. Have a great weekend. And thank you so much again for watching.